This is a basic class on Zotero. I'm Meryl Brodsky, the Moody College of Communication librarian, and I'm not a Zotero expert, but I am a Zotero user, and I can get you started with it. Please follow along on your computer, and if you have questions, please feel free to email me at this email address. So first of all, what is Zotero? Zotero is a citation management tool, and while there are other tools such as EndNote and Mendeley to name a couple, we generally recommend that students use Zotero because it's free and it's portable, which means that wherever you go in your academic career, you can take your citations with you. Citation management tools in general allow you to collect citations and source materials from articles or conference presentation. You can also organize into different categories for projects you're working on. You can create bibliographies easily without sweating about whether the author's first name goes first or last, and you can share your research with colleagues. This can be very helpful if you're working on projects together. If you have your citations in another tool and you want to switch to Zotero, this is possible. If you search Google on how to do this, you'll see it involves exporting your library and saving it as a RIS file, but we'll talk more about that later. So the first thing you should do is download Zotero, and if you haven't done it yet, you can probably do it right now. The next thing you need to do is install the Zotero connector for your browser. This is a game changer. It actually integrates so that all you have to do is click on an icon and you'll be able to save those citations or articles. And I'll show you how that works in a minute. So if you've got Zotero, make sure you download the connector as well. Next, you need to set your preferences in Zotero. And in general, the default, it will indicate what elements of a record you are going to be saving. The default is pretty extensive, and if that's okay with you, you can just go with it. However, you will need to select Sync if you want to be able to access your Zotero records from other computers. This is a big deal because if you imagine your future academic life, you may want to take these sources with you. You might have a work computer and a laptop. Think about the login. I had a login from my previous employer, and I didn't have my sync turned on, and I lost several hundred of my sources, which I've slowly been rebuilding. So think about an email address you're going to take with you for the long term and use that to use Zotero. Okay, here's what an article looks like in Zotero, and now we'll talk about some of the vocabulary that they use. Your library is the basic container for all of your content. You can create folders for different projects in your library, and these are called collections. You can duplicate items in collections as you need. Speaking of duplicates, there is a duplicate detection system in Zotero, and it works via the title, the DOI, or the ISBN. Sometimes it errs on the side of caution, so you may find two titles that are the same, and you may have to delete them manually, but it is actually the same item. You can also create group libraries so that other people can log in and share resources if you're working on a project together, and I've got a slide on how to do that later. Here's a record for an article, just so you can see what it looks like. The notes field allows you to put your notes about this source in. It's a text field, and so you can put anything that's pertinent. If you download something with metadata, such as a PDF or a book description, these will be downloaded into Zotero in the tags section, and that'll be helpful if you're asked to supply metadata or keywords to describe an article you've written for publication. You should think about Zotero as a citation database. So there are multiple ways to add sources to Zotero, and we're going to go through a few of those now. The first way to do it is automatically, and we're going to start at the library's homepage. So please go to lib.utexas.edu, and I'll join you there. And this is the library's homepage. And if you want to search our catalog, you search this box right here. That's going to be all of the books and videos and music that we own. And it also contains some of the articles as well as items we don't own. So it's kind of a collection of a lot of stuff, but it doesn't have all of the specialized tools here. So I'm going to run a search on Twitter and virus and COVID, and I'll click the magnifying glass. And you can see it's pulled up 500 plus results. So I want to narrow that down a bit, and I'm particularly interested in social media coverage. So we're going to go down into the subject field and click on social media. And that will reduce the number of results. So let's say, for instance, you wanted to select this first article. If I click on the title, I get the record from it with some description of what the article covers. And if you click on this blue icon at the top of your screen, it will save this citation and including the descriptive information to Zotero. If you actually want to save the article though, you need to click on the full collection and pull up the specific article by going to the PDF. So you can click on that, and then you'll notice that the icon changes. So you can save it to Zotero here as well. You can also search on Google Scholar this way. So I suggest that you search Google Scholar through the libraries just so that it knows that you're a member of the UT community. And I'm going through the Databases tab under the G for Google Scholar. And we'll click on Google Scholar here. And here I had wanted to search TikTok and virus and COVID. So you can see there's a number of results, and let's say you wanted to look at this article. We'll click on it. And again, you're able to click on the Zotero icon and it will save the full article. So now let's try it in a library database. I'm going to go back to the databases, and this time we're going to go to E, and we're going to search the EBSCO host databases. So I'll click on that. And we're going to select all of them. And here I searched on Black Lives Matter. And you can see it comes up first with some books, but again, I'm more interested in the social media aspect, so I'm going to go down to subject major heading, and we're going to look for social media, and that's here, and I'm going to update the search with that subject field. Now we just looked at two different ways to save articles one at a time by clicking on that Zotero icons, but now we're going to be saving several different things at the same time, sort of a batch download. So let's say this was of interest to you. The way that you could do this would be to add it to a folder. Now you could just export it and continue to work one at a time, but we'll add it to the folder, and then we'll go back to our search results, and we'll go here and we'll add this to the folder as well. And then you should be able to go into your folder. Let's see if this works. And find, yeah, the two articles we've saved. And now you can export them. And you want to do a direct export in RIS. And if you do this while your Zotero is open, it'll go right into Zotero. And it will save it in its own folder as a result from EBSCO. So those are three different ways to save. Now we'll switch back to the PowerPoint. And of course, you can use the blue icon as well by saving a website. You can also go to Zotero itself and use a DOI or an ISBN or a PMID number. There's a little magic wand icon on the upper left side of the page. You can start typing the number and it will be added to Zotero if Zotero can find it. And often it can. And then of course you can always add articles manually by clicking on the new item button and then typing. But why Zotero is so great is because it can create bibliographies pretty much automatically. So once you've got Zotero, you'll see that there's a Zotero tab on Microsoft Word, or can also see it on Google Docs. And you've got to have Zotero, the application, not the web page, running in order to do this. But it's pretty easy. So now I'm going to see if I can show you that. So I'll go to Zotero, and one way you can do it, here's a 3 articles that I've got, and if I highlight them all and right click, it gives me the opportunity to create a bibliography from the items. So I'll click there, and I'd like to use APA, that's fine. And we'll save it to the desktop as an RTF format. Let's see if that worked. And then what you can do is copy and paste it into your document. So here it is. And you can see that they've done a pretty nice job with the APA format. So it would just be a copy and a paste. So now I'm going to go back to the PowerPoint, and we'll talk a little bit more about the group libraries. So in order to set this up, somebody needs to be the owner of the group library, and it allows you to share collections with a class or work with colleagues on a project and sort of keep tabs on what people are doing and working on. There's no limit to the number of members of who may join your group, but your storage may be limited depending on the privacy settings that you select. And so in Zotero, you'll go and select a new group, and then you'll have to log into your account, and then you click on Create New Group. So from here, you want to choose a specific name, and the level of privacy. If it's private, only you and your members can see the group's research. If it's public and closed or public and open, it allows you to share the research with everyone, but only those who are part of your group can add research. And Zotero will ask you to define the reading and editing privileges of different group members. And then you'll need to invite your group members once you've created this group. So you'll click on the members settings and send more invitations. And you can invite collaborators by their Zotero username or email address associated with their account. And then once they get that, they can click on it and they'll be in the group. So here are a bunch of links that you may find helpful. Of course, Zotero is pretty easy to use and their documentation is also quite good. So I recommend you also take a look at